All right, so I have here the front one here is the Xiaomi M365Pro, and the one in the back is the GoTrax G4. So they're both basically at the same price. Or I got them at the same price, but they, for the most part, they sell, they retail for about the same price. I think the regular retail price for both of these are $600. I got them for $500. Yeah, so yeah, basically the same price. Let me compare the differences real quick and which one I like better. The GoTrax G4 is a little bit newer. The M365Pro is came out probably about not quite a year yet. I think it's been I think it came out around last Christmas time maybe, and the G4 it came out just this past month. So so a difference in over half a year. Different companies, different brand obviously. The G4 has 10-inch outside diameter tires, whereas the 365 Pro has I think it's 8.5-inch outside diameter. Is it 8.5-inch? Yeah, 8.5-inch outside diameter. So because of that, this is a smoother ride. The bigger wheels will always give you a smoother ride, and it's also more stable because there's more gyroscopic forces, more more centrifugal force basically. So that's that. If you look here, you can actually see the geometry difference between the two. Look at the angle of the M365. It's more slack versus the G4. It's more upright. So that head tube angle will change the it would change the trail, or basically, in two wheels we call that trail, in four wheels, like on a car, you call that caster. So it changes that angle. So the Xiaomi has a more slack head, so it's actually more, in that sense, it's more stable. But also at the same time, when it's more slack to that, it's slower to response in steering. So the G4 actually has a quicker response. Theoretically less stable because of the steeper head angle, but because of the big wheels, that actually makes it more stable. So in this case, if I compare both of them at a given speed, the G4 is actually more stable than the 365 Pro because of that reason, because of the bigger wheels. If they had the same wheels, I would probably say that the 365 Pro would be more stable because of the slacker head angle. So anyways, but the steering wise, so the G4 it's more stable because of the big wheels, but also because of the steeper head angle. It's actually quicker steering, so it's a little bit faster steering than the 365 Pro. A little bit more responsive, but the bigger wheels make it, because of the actual gyroscopic force, it makes it less responsive. So there's a little bit of trade-off for both. So as far as actual, when I'm riding the two, I would say that the G4 is slightly more responsive, just a little bit, not that much, and it's a little bit more stable. So handling wise, I prefer the G4 over the 365 Pro. The brakes on the 365 Pro is actually better, and the reason for that is because this one has a front wheel drive. The 364 Pro has a front wheel drive and a mechanical disc brake in the back, whereas the G4 is a rear wheel drive and mechanical brakes in the back, and the front has no brakes. Okay, so because of that, if you know anything about braking a vehicle, when you brake, most of your weight shifts to the front. So when the weight shifts to the front, most of your braking power is actually in the front. So since the G4 doesn't have any brakes in the front at all the brakes is back here, it's very easy to skid and lock up the back tire. This one, because it has the front brake, a lot of the weight is put in the front, and that regen braking kicks in, and it actually works really well in slowing down the scooter. So it works better than the G4. The G4, when you slow down, it feels more like a coasting than it does slowing down. Whereas the M365 Pro, you definitely feel it slowing down much faster, just by just without using any of the mechanical brakes. And here, both these mechanical brakes more or less work the same. They both easily lock up the back tire if you want to. But when you lock up the tires, the wheel, it doesn't stop very fast that way. It's faster if you could maintain the rolling, maintain the wheels rolling, so that way it maintains traction. Because once it skids, it loses traction, and you actually can't stop as fast. So yeah, so this 365 Pro definitely stops faster because the front, has brakes in the front. With that said, having the motor in the front is not as good as having motor in the back, because rear wheel drive is actually better when you actually driving, you're actually accelerating and moving. When you put the power down and get going, rear wheel drive is better. It doesn't spin out. Like for example, if I'm going up a incline or a slippery surface, this front wheel will actually sometimes spin out, because when you're accelerating, it does the opposite. It shifts the weight to the back. So now I have more weight in the back and there's less weight in the front. Less weight in the front means less traction, so it spins out. Whereas the rear wheel drive, when you're going uphill or on a slippery surface, it has more traction, because when you're accelerating, the weight shifts to the back, so the more weight you have down on that, the more traction you have. So that's the advantage and disadvantage of both front wheel versus rear wheel. There's that. Let's see, deck size. They're pretty close. I think the Xiaomi has slightly longer back to front to back deck length. I think it's by maybe 2 inches or so, at least an inch. Yeah, probably more like an inch. Inch, 2 at the most, somewhere between an inch and 2 inches of length. But the width, the GoTrax actually has more space width-wise. All right. But with that said, when you actually stand on these two, the Xiaomi actually feels like it's more cramped versus the G4, and the reason for that, it has to do with the head angle here again, because the Xiaomi angles back more. Because of that, for you to be comfortable, controlling it, you actually have to stand a little bit back more. So the space in the front here, it's not as useful because your feet's not here. You try to put your feet there, it feels kind of weird. It feels like you're too close to the handlebars. But with the G4, since it's more upright, you actually have more cockpit space basically. So actually it feels roomier, even though the deck length is actually shorter than the M365 Pro. Let's see. Obviously, if you look at here, you can see how much bigger and burlier the G4 is, because the G4 is meant as a commuter scoot, even though this one's kind of meant as a commuter scoot too, but this one's more serious of a commuter scoot. That's why it has the bigger wheels and everything, and sturdier frame. Controls wise, obviously this thing has speedometer, and you change. You really can't change anything. You have the light, headlight. You can turn the light on and off. Same thing with this one. You can turn the light on and off. Let's see what else. This one has a security, so it's all built in. There's no app. Whereas the 365 Pro, it actually has an app. That you can go in and control, but I actually don't want to use the app. I had originally had the app, and to set it up, once I had it set up, I deleted the app, because it's Xiaomi is a Chinese company, and for you to use the app, they want you to not just download the app, but they want you to say that it's okay for them to keep track of you and all this stuff. If you can't, if you don't allow them to keep track of you and stuff, then you can't use the app. So I don't want that. I don't want the CCP to be keeping track of me. That's a whole privacy thing. So once I set this thing up, I don't use the app anymore. I deleted the app, and whatever it is. Whereas the GoTrax, it has no app at all. It's just whatever the setup is all on here. So they both have odometers. This one's at 19, almost 20. This one I'm probably at at least 50 miles, if not more than 50 miles, maybe closer to 100 miles. But I don't know what it is unless you have to open up the app to look at it. So So basically it becomes useless. So the only thing that you control here is how much speed, if you want the light on or off, right? Light on or off, right there. On or off. You can control the speed with echo, drive, and sport. Whereas with this one, you could go with low gear, high gear. L2 is high gear, L1 is low gear. Speed wise between the two, the low gear on this is 15.5, 16. This one, it just tops out at 16, and that's it. This one, the high gear, is actually tops out at 20, so it's a little bit faster. Let's see, what else? Oh, and I mentioned it, the M365Pro has a better regen braking. And when you let go and it starts to regen, where you just barely just touch this just to activate the regen without activating the mechanical brakes, it's much, it does a lot more work as far as braking goes. Whereas the GoTrax, to activate it, you just push it a little bit without, you only push it part way without activating the mechanical brake, and it will regen. But since it's in the back, it doesn't regen as strong. It doesn't slow down as strong, I should say. Let's see. The other main difference is that let me see the other difference. The GoTrax actually has a built-in lock, so there's this little cable lock here to actually loop this around and lock it onto itself with a combination lock with there. So again, this thing is purpose built for commuting, so that's why it has all these things built in. It's pretty good design. Other difference is the range. So the range, the M365Pro has more range than the GoTrax. The GoTrax, I went, let's see, when I first got it, I put about 3.2 miles, around the neighborhood. Then after that, I took it on a long ride to see how long the battery lasted. And I got, so I started at 3.2, and I ended at 19.2. I ended at 19.2, so basically I got 13 miles or so. Is that right? No, excuse me, 16 miles. I got 16 miles, and I almost ran out of batteries around 16 miles, so it's probably good for a little bit over 16 miles. I'm a pretty lightweight guy. I will probably only weigh like 140 pounds with clothes on, with shoes on and everything. So I'm pretty lightweight, and that's in the high speed, right? So I was going 20 miles an hour the whole time. And when you're going this speed, it's able to maintain 20 the whole entire 4 bars until the last bar starts blinking. That's when it goes into low power mode, and it drops you down to like 15 miles an hour. Whereas the Xiaomi, it will let's see, I think it maintains 16 the whole time until it gets to the last bar. Then it also drops you down as well. So this one here, for me anyways, the range was around 16 miles. And here, this one, I did the same trail, and I was actually able to, the power wise, it only went down, was it 2 bars? This thing has actually 5 bars, not 4. Okay, so right now it's the power, it's not at full power. But when it's at full power, it actually has 5 bars. So this one went down 3 bars with the same mileage. So I still have 2 bars left. So basically, this one has more range. So I'm guessing this one has over 20 miles of range. Real world range. Not some bullshit range that the company gives you. Just like this G4. The bullshit range they gave you is what was it? They say it goes between 20 and 25 miles. I don't know about 25 miles. Maybe if you're really lightweight. And I'm pretty lightweight, but I didn't even get anywhere close to 25. I got only 16 or so before it almost ran out. So maybe if I put it to low range mode, low gear mode, low power mode, so it's a little bit slower, I could probably get more range. But even then, I still don't think it could get 25 miles. It'll probably get 20 miles, maybe a little bit over 20. So this one is probably it's probably close to each other, but this one just has a little bit more. You know, if I set this one to the lower range, they basically have the same speed at 16, right? If I set them both at 16 speed, top speed, this one will have a little bit more miles, a little bit more range than the G4 does. Let's see what else on this. Overall, the G4 is just more sturdy of a scooter. It's more sturdy. It feels better. It feels more secure. The handling feels better. The brakes is not as good, obviously. Brakes not as quickly. You know, you don't stop as quickly, I don't think. It has less range. The M365 has more range. Overall, I would probably rather have the G4 over the M365Pro because you know, reality is I'm not gonna need to go more than 10 miles. You know, that's a long freaking range. 10 miles. If I had to commute 10 miles, I wouldn't use a scooter. You know, a scooter is good for like 2-3 miles, because if you have to go like 10 miles to commute, that takes a long time. You know, going 15-20 miles an hour, that takes a long time. So I'd rather ride my motorcycle if I had to go a little bit further than that. Ride my actual scooter, my Honda scooter, my Honda Elite scooter, for doing that. And with a motorbike, you can actually carry some stuff. This thing, you can't carry anything unless you're wearing a backpack. This hook here is pretty sturdy, so you can actually hook like a bag on here, so that's okay. This one you have nothing to hook onto. You can hang on to the handlebar, but that's kind of risky because it kind of interferes. Same thing with here. If you hang on to the handlebar, it's kind of risky. So overall, I'd rather have the GoTrax. It's just I think it's overall it's better. It's just you don't have quite as much range. It's down a few miles, probably within 5 miles or so. And the brakes are not quite as, I don't think they're quite as quick, short distance braking. Because this, the GoTrax is only rear brakes. Both the mechanical and the regen brake is on the back, whereas with the M365Pro, the mechanical in the back and the regen in the front, that actually stops better than the other one. Weight-wise, they're about the same weight. I think the GoTrax is actually a little bit slightly heavier, just because it's a sturdier scooter. Bigger wheels, bigger frame, and everything. So that adds the weight. Let's see what else. I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else. They're both pretty cool. So I'm gonna leave this GoTrax at work, because I work when I go to lunch and stuff like that. Instead of driving to lunch and driving down the street to lunch, I'd rather just hop on the scooter. And that's what I mainly use scooter for, is to go only a mile or 2 miles at the most. Definitely less than 5 miles. Otherwise, if you go 5 miles or more, it just takes too long. I'd rather just hop in the car, so it's faster that way. But just a couple miles, the scooter is the way to go, and I'd rather use the GoTrax for that. And this M365 Pro, I'm gonna take this back home, and I'm gonna leave it at home for when I need to go like around the neighborhood, for like when I need to like go to the mailbox or the post office down the street or something like that. I'll do that with the M365 Pro. So overall, I think I like the GoTrax a little better. The only weaker part of it is the brakes and the range. And the range, it doesn't really concern me, because I don't plan on going more than 10 miles at any given time. So that doesn't really matter. 10 miles is more than enough for what I needed to do. Speed wise, I like that extra speed with being able to go 20 miles an hour. That makes a difference. Versus going 16 miles an hour versus 20, that definitely makes a difference. It's like, whoa, it's time saver right there. So that's it. So those are the difference between the two. Right, so thanks for watching.